Hi everyone, and welcome to this series of videos in 6 hours complete driving theory for Belgium Made Simple. My name is Anjum and I'm the author of the book Driving Theory for Belgium Made Simple. In this lesson, we will talk about you and your car. So we first start with safe driving practices. Then we will talk about the required documents, technical information about the vehicle, mobility, environment, traffic violations, and we will finish with an overview of traffic signs. We will start the lesson with the alcohol checks as well as drugs check on the drugs. So what are the penalties when people are caught with alcohol and how much should be the alcohol content to not get penalized, and if the alcohol content is so much, then what are the penalties? When will you lose your license? When will the police give you a fine? When will you have to go to a judge and things like that? So everything about alcohol and drugs violations related to these things. And then we will also talk about what are the mandatory things to keep in the car, and then the technical parts such as the depth of the thread in a tire, the lights in the front, the rear lights, what are the different lights, and what is the kind of lights that you have to use during fog, during nightfall. And we will talk about something called as MTM and the mass at that point. So this is an important concept that you understand what is the difference between MTM and the total mass, because if you don't understand the difference, obviously you'll get the answers wrong, right? And then we will talk about the documents that are needed. What are the documents as you as a driver must have? If you are a learner, then what are the documents you must have, and what documents are needed in the car? And then we will finish off with some of the things like a smog, and then the lights, of course, the indicators, the ABS, and those terms. All right, so let's continue. Okay, so this is all about you and your car, safe on the road. So the first thing you should do, in the sense, as a driver, you should be able to be a good driver. What I mean by that is you should be physically fit. You should not be under the influence of drugs. You should not be sick. You should be physically fit to drive. All right. And you should have no distraction. The biggest distraction, I think, is the mobile phone, as well as talking to others. Maybe sometimes listening to music. Those could be distractions, talking on the phone. So avoid distractions. And then those are the things that you need to follow. Okay. Driving under the influence. So driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs is highly unsafe, and that's a very irresponsible act. Okay, there could be alcohol and drug checks, and when people are caught with these offenses, there could be fine, there could be a driving ban, or there could be the person might have to go to the judge, and there could be a criminal conviction. Okay, the penalties are more strict for drivers who have held their license for less than 2 years. Let's say you have got your license and within 1 year the person is caught under the influence of alcohol, the penalties are more strict. For example, a regular driver might get a 3 days ban, but a person with a license less than 2 years will get a ban of, let's say, 7 days or even 2 weeks or a month. So the penalties are strict for people who have their license for less than 2 years. So let's start with these two type of tests. Here on the left, you see what the alcohol test. On the right is the test for drugs. Now, when there's few things that you need to, the first thing that they start with is a breath test. Okay, whenever you are driving a car, the first thing the police will check is the breath test. It's an instrument where you need to blow inside that, and it will show if it is safe, alarm, or positive. If the reading, so it could be something like green, orange, and red indicators. And if it is green, if it is safe, then you are allowed to continue driving. Okay. If it is alarm or positive for the breath test, then they will start with a breath analysis. Now, breath analysis gives the exact alcohol content in the blood. It is milligram per liter. So again, it's a different instrument where you have to blow in. So it will tell you how much of milligram of alcohol is there in per liter of blood. Okay, so safe is always less than 0.22 milligram per liter. Alarm will be, you have to remember this, so 0.22 to 0.35. Okay, that's the alarm. If the alcohol level is between 0.22 and 0.35 milligram per liter, you will get a 3 hours driving ban. And if it is more than 0.35 milligrams per liter, it's a 6 hours driving ban. Now, there could be conditions where people are not able to blow in the instrument. Maybe they have taken too much of alcohol. They are very unstable. In that case, there could be a blood analysis done. Okay, where a blood sample is taken, and then the alcohol content is checked, and that reading is called promille. Just remember this promille term; it's important. So between 0.5 and 0.8, it's alarm. You just need to remember this 0.5 to 0.8, and if it is this value promille, then it's 3 hours of driving ban, and more than that is 6 hours of driving ban. And if it is less, then there is no ban. So that is considered safe. Now, that's about the alcohol test. Now, there could be tests for the drugs as well. And the consequences, they take a positive sample, so saliva sample. If the first saliva sample is positive, a second sample is taken and sent to the laboratory. So there could be a 12 hours of driving ban if there are drugs found, and the driving license must be handed over to the police for 12 hours. Okay, and when you go back to collect the license, they could do another test just to make sure that you're not under the influence. Okay, now seat belt is mandatory in a car. Okay, there could be exceptions. Of course, there are exceptions, and we will look at that. For example, a person who's reversing his car, he is allowed to remove his seat belt. Okay, the officials who are operating in the post, they can remove their seat belts, and priority vehicles, they can remove their seat belt. There are exceptions, but generally, in general case, always seat belt is mandatory. Now, if there is a child under 18 years and the child is shorter than 1.35 meters in height, then the child should sit in a safety system. That's the child seat. Okay, if the child is more than 1.35 meters, then the child is allowed to sit away from the child seat. Now, there are some things that are mandatory in the car. There are 4 things that are mandatory in the car, and that should always be there. There should be a warning triangle, which you place at least visible from 15 meters when you place it on the road. We will look at this later in this training. There should always be a fire extinguisher. There should be a first aid kit. There should be a retro-reflective safety vest. So you can check this. You can go, if your parents have car, just go to the car and check if they would definitely have these 4 things inside the car. Okay, so the retro-reflective safety vest is one is mandatory for the driver. Okay. All right, that was about the inside the car. Now let's talk about the documents that are required. Okay, these documents are for the driver. So yeah, some people say, okay, what about the ID card? The ID card you should always carry. Huh? There's no exception to that. But for driving, you need a driving license B. All right. Now, with a driving license B, you are allowed to drive a car or vehicle that has an MTM up to 3.5 tons. Okay, remember this, MTM, maximum authorized mass, up to 3.5 tons. And we'll talk about MTM just in a couple of minutes. And then the trailer allowed. If you have a trailer like this, the trailer, you can still have a trailer, but the combined weight of the car and the trailer should not exceed 3.5 tons. So always remember, if you have a driving license B, the maximum you can go is 3.5 tons. Okay. Now, if you don't have a driving license B, you can still drive with a provisional driving license, which is available from the age of 17. And with this provisional driving license, you can only drive in Belgium. You cannot drive in any other country outside. There must always be a L plate displayed behind the car. And very important to remember, these with a provisional driving license, you are never allowed to drive on the nights during the weekends. This is important. You can drive on the night, you can drive during the day, no problem. But during the weekends, you cannot drive in the night. Why? Because there are a lot of people partying, there could be offenses and things like that. So it could be dangerous. So it starts from the Friday from 10 p.m. to Saturday 6 p.m. Again, no driving from Saturday 10 p.m. to Sunday 6 p.m. and no driving from Sunday 10 p.m. to Monday 6 p.m. And also on the public holidays, same thing. Let's say 1st January is on a Wednesday, then you cannot drive on the Wednesday during the night of Wednesday as well as a day before on Tuesday also, between 10 and 6. Okay, during public holidays and the evening before public holidays. Now, let's look at the documents required for your car. Okay, there are 4 documents that are required for your car. That's the certificate of conformity. This is given by the company, the manufacturer itself. And for example, it tells what kind of car it is, does it conform to all the standards? If it's a Volkswagen, then Volkswagen will give the certificate. This should be in the car. There is a proof of insurance that you have paid the